The silence between us, I never thought silence could be so loud. It echoed through every message I ignored, every phone call I let ring unanswered, every time I told myself, she's not my problem anymore. But the truth is, my betrayal wasn't in the things I said. It was in the things I refused to say. And it all began on the night she called me crying, the night I chose not to listen. Chapter 1. The call I didn't take. It was late, past midnight, when her name flashed on my screen. Elena, my ex-wife. For a moment, I hesitated, thumb hovering over the green button. But instead of answering, I watched until the screen went dark again. Minutes later, a message arrived. Please, I just need someone to talk to. Please. I stared at it for a long time, the words burning into me. But bitterness won. I put the phone face down and went to sleep. At that moment, I didn't realize I was betraying her. Not as a husband, we were past that, but as someone who had once promised to never leave her in the dark. Chapter 2. The divorce that broke her. The next day, I learned through friends what she had been going through. Her new marriage, the one she had left me for, was collapsing. She was trapped in court battles, lies, and debts she hadn't expected. People whispered that she cried in her car after work, that she barely ate, that her laughter had disappeared. And yet, I kept my distance. Part of me thought she deserved it. Part of me thought helping her would make me weak, pathetic. So I stayed silent. Chapter 3. The friend who took my place. What I didn't know was that someone else had stepped in, someone she and I had both known for years. Mark, a mutual friend. At first, he was just helping her move things, listening when she needed support. But soon, I started hearing things that made my stomach turn. How she leaned on him, how she trusted him, how she smiled at him in ways she hadn't smiled at me in years. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected, not because she owed me loyalty, but because I realized that by doing nothing, I had handed her over to him. Chapter 4. The truth I couldn't escape. Weeks passed before I saw her again. It was at a gathering, a mutual friend's birthday. She looked thinner, fragile, her eyes shadowed. But when Mark walked in, her whole face lit up. I stood there, watching, guilt rising like bile. She caught my eye once, just for a second. And in that second, I knew she remembered every call I hadn't answered, every plea I had ignored. Her betrayal wasn't choosing him. My betrayal was leaving her alone long enough to need him. Chapter 5. The confession. Later that night, when everyone else had left, she found me outside. You know, she said quietly, I called you because I thought just once you'd be there, even after everything. But you weren't. Her words didn't come with anger. They came with disappointment, which was worse. I was drowning, she whispered, and you just watched. I had no defense, no excuse. Just the crushing weight of knowing she was right. Chapter 6. The price of silence. In the end, she didn't just lose her marriage. She lost me to not because I wasn't hers anymore, but because I hadn't been human enough to help her when she needed me most. And I lost her in a way I hadn't expected. Not as a lover, not as a wife, but as someone who once trusted me to keep her safe, no matter what. The betrayal was mine, and it will haunt me longer than hers ever could. The silence between us. Party. Chapter 7. Guilt that doesn't sleep. Guilt is a strange thing. It doesn't scream. It doesn't shout. It whispers at night, crawls into your chest while you're lying awake, and reminds you of every moment you could have chosen differently. I started dreaming about her calls, the phone ringing, her voice breaking, and me sitting in the dark choosing not to answer. When I woke, it grabbed my phone and checked her name, even though I knew there would be no new messages. She had stopped reaching out to me completely, and that silence, that empty space, was louder than her cries. Chapter 8. Watching from a distance. Weeks blurred into months. I saw her sometimes in passing at the grocery store, outside the children's school, once at a mutual friend's barbecue. Every time, she looked different. Not destroyed, not broken, but hardened, like a flame that had burned down and left nothing but ash. And every time, Mark was there, at first hovering protectively, later walking beside her like he belonged. I told myself I didn't care, but the bitterness in my throat told a different story. Chapter 9. The words I overheard. One evening, I stopped at the local cafe. I hadn't expected to see them there. They sat by the window, coffee mugs in hand. I should have walked away. Instead, I lingered, half-hidden, listening. I don't hate him, I heard her say, but I can't forgive him. Not because he left me before, but because he left me during. When I needed someone most, he vanished. That hurt more than the divorce itself. Her voice cracked. Mark reached for her hand, and she let him. I left before they saw me, shame burning my skin. Chapter 10, trying to mend. For the first time in months, I found myself drafting a message to her. Something simple, something safe. I'm sorry for everything. I should have been there. I typed it. Deleted it. Typed it again? My thumb hovered over send, but I didn't send it. Why? Because I knew words were no longer enough. Chapter 11, the unexpected encounter. It was late autumn when fate forced us into the same room. Parent-teacher night at our child's school. We ended up sitting across the table, awkward silence stretching between us. The teacher spoke about grades, progress, and behavior, but all I heard was the pounding of my own guilt. Afterward, she gathered her things quickly. I tried to stop her. Elena, I said. She looked at me, tired, wary. I'm sorry, I blurted. She froze just for a second and then shook her head. Too late, she whispered, and walked away. Chapter 12, the downward spiral. Something broke inside me that night. I drank more, worked less. Friends noticed but didn't comment. Everyone thought I had moved on, but the truth was uglier. I was drowning in my own silence. The betrayal was eating me alive, not hers, but mine. I betrayed the woman I had once promised to protect. And now, watching her rebuild her life with someone else's support, I realized I hadn't just lost her. I had lost the last piece of myself that was worth anything. Chapter 13, Mark's words. Months later, I ran into Mark outside the same cafe. He looked at me, calm but firm. You know, he said, she waited for you. She waited longer than she should have. And when you didn't come, she let go. That's on you, not her. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream. But deep down, I knew he was right. Chapter 14, the letter I never sent. One night, in a haze of whiskey and regret, I wrote her a letter. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I abandoned you when you needed someone. I can't take that back. But I want you to know your pain didn't go unnoticed. It haunts me every single day. And maybe that's my punishment. Maybe I deserve to live with it. I folded the letter, slipped it into an envelope, but I never mailed it. Because forgiveness isn't something you can demand. It's something you lose forever the moment you betray it. Chapter 15, acceptance. It took me years to accept what I had done. Years to stop looking for her name in my phone, to stop waiting for another chance that would never come. She moved on. She rebuilt her life. Maybe with Mark. Maybe without him. I no longer know. And me? I live with the knowledge that betrayal doesn't always come from lies, from cheating, from sharp words. Sometimes it comes from silence, from choosing not to be there, from looking away when someone you once loved is sinking. That was my betrayal, and it's the one mistake I will carry to my grave.